Title belts to Hall of Fame. Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, pride. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage.
Hey everybody, welcome back once again to Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. We are back for another episode, guys. We came back last week, season 2, kicked off with a bang, and this week we've got a fun subject. But how you guys' week been?
Dude, I had a real good one. Hope everybody had a great Easter, man. Sit out by the beach a little bit, ate good. Of course, I always eat good. So, I had a big weekend.
Oh, yeah, Gene, I had a great weekend, great Easter. Like Tommy said, I want to wish everybody, I hope everybody had a happy Easter and everything was nice, good weekend with family and everything. And like I said, we had a great time. So I hope everybody did.
Awesome. I did as well. And I want to remind everybody right here at the top of the show, guys, if you're looking for the podcast last week when we brought it back, it's not in the WrestleCopia feed anymore. And it's on YouTube. It's on Apple Podcast. It's on Spotify. It's in a number of different places. So the best way to find the podcast, go to DougGilbertPodcast.com. And there's links to all the different places that you can find this podcast, plus the previous 30 episodes. There's links to where you can still go back and listen to that as well. So a lot of people have messaged me and asked me, and that's the best for all things, social media, anything to do with Doug, Tommy, and this podcast. You can find links to it right there at DougGilbertPodcast.com. So let's go ahead and talk about some things that we got coming up here, Doug. First and foremost.
Yeah, to find out anything about Tommy, Wildfire Rich, Dangerous Doug Gilbert, Gene Jackson, go to the podcast and you can find out everything. Like I said, Gene's got a million different things to talk about. And I'd say, Gene, what do we got first on the list as far as the appearances?
Well, as this drops on Friday, the late Thursday night, Friday morning, tomorrow, I guess you should say, on Saturday, April 26th at 2 p.m., you are going to be doing a virtual signing online where you will be autographing copies of the new book, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, The Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling. And guys, if you want to go ahead and reserve a copy to get signed, you can go to www.thcringside.com/books, and you can purchase them there. But like Doug just told you, we got that link over at DougGilbertPodcast.com. So all you got to do is just go there, you click it, and that's how you can find all these things very easy. But Doug, you're going to be there signing our new book. And
man, I'm really looking forward. Like I said, I think I can sit and sign. The people can watch me sign. Actually, I think they're going to have what names, and if anybody's watching and wants one, you can get it right then. And I mean, I'll sign it for you, pick it right up here in front of me and show it to you and sign it and get it right back out to you and everything. Like I said, I'm really glad this is finally, the day's come that this is going to be out and everybody gets to read it and everything. Like I said, there's some great stories with it's a book about my brother, but all the people that have done stuff with my brother, like Tommy is sitting here. I mean, all the different ones of us and stuff, and there's great stories through him from when he was a kid through his wrestling career. And like I said, I'm really proud of it. I think it's a great book, and man, I'll be happy for everybody to get to read it, and I hope everybody likes it as much as I do.
Oh, it's going to be a good one. I've got to get me one too. I hadn't read it yet either. I'm excited myself.
I think I could probably get Doug to sign it for you, Tommy, if you ask real nice.
Okay.
And something else, Doug, we kind of talked about that this is kind of a project that's been kind of years in the making. So there's a lot of great stories from your mom and dad in there, about Eddie and you guys growing up and their perspectives on a lot of things. So it's really cool to have that included as well.
Yeah, man, it's really cool. That's what I said. A lot of different people. There is a whole lot of different people's perspective on this and everything. Like I said, I'm really proud of it. I'm ready for people to get to read it and everything, and it's just going to be really cool. Saturday, sitting down and starting to sign them and everything, and get everything going. Plus, Gene, that's a great big deal, but man, we've got so many other things going on also. And like I said, I'm so happy that the book is finally here and everything, and we could start signing those Saturday and getting those out to people. But man, we've got a lot of things going on, don't we?
Well, we do. And you know what? While you will be there signing copies of the book, our friend Tommy is going to be on April 26th, this coming Saturday. We'll be at the Wrestling in the Smokies Fest in Bryson, North Carolina. Tommy, that sounds like a really cool event you're going to be at, man.
This is my first time, so I'm excited about that. I love to go to Smoky Mountains. Great wrestling fans. I used to work for Smoky Mountain Wrestling up there, and then the Fullers had it. I mean, and plus I go back further than that. I remember going to Johnson City and doggone, you get to Knoxville, and it was a 2-lane road all the way to Johnson. It took you all day to get there and all night to get back.
Great fans up there. I know you're going to have a good time up there. So everybody in that area, come out and see Tommy and enjoy this big Wrestling in the Smokies Fest. A lot of cool stuff going on. And then, of course, after that, we're going to be heading to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Saturday, May the 3rd. For the big WrestleCon wrestling convention. It's going to be taking place at noon that day at the 2300 Arena. If you don't recognize that name, that is the former ECW Arena. And then that night, it's going to be TWA One and Done. And not only can you meet Doug and Tommy during the day at this convention, that night, Memphis Mafia will be in action. And it's not going to be just any match. They're going to be taking on Team Extreme, the franchise Shane Douglas, and what he describes as an extreme mystery partner that he seems like you guys ought to be nervous about it. But if I know you guys, I don't think you're sweating it too much, right?
No, I don't think Tommy is, and I'm sure not. And I think that night we'd probably call it the TCW Arena, because I think now how it's, a lot of people know or have read how it started and everything. But I mean, and not that it's a bad thing, but when me and Eddie first started up there, it was actually, you know what it was, and now it's a great building. And Gene, I don't think, Gene, you hadn't never been inside of it. You've seen tapes and stuff, but you've never been inside of it, right?
I'm excited. No, I haven't.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is what I really like so much about it now, and I don't say I didn't like it then, but when me and Eddie went up there, it was just it was just a warehouse. And actually, I think they said like a bingo hall or something. And now it's a cool, back then it was a cool place, because it's like Tommy laughed at me before I told him, I said, it's like a freaking cult type deal and everything. But it was just like kind of to me, it reminded me of underground wrestling, Gene, if you know what I mean. I mean, and I've told Tommy that before. I said, man, this is different. I love the fans, because they if it was something they liked, they just really bought into it, and they would show you. And I mean, if it was something they didn't like, they'd really show you also, right, Tommy? I mean, they in a second they'd say this sucks or
oh, yeah
and everything, and you effed up or whatever. You just gonna have
wrong. They let you know. That's the dog. Sure.
But
I get it. They thought it was hokey.
But I mean, at the get go, it was just like I'm saying, Gene. When you get up there and you see it now, to me, it's like a great, like an upscale venue. Back in those days, it was like if you would have just walked in a warehouse, like, a storage warehouse, and you looked around, all you saw was what you would have thought of as a storage warehouse or a bingo hall or whatever.
I think they called it Viking Hall at the time y'all moved in there, right?
I think so. And everything, but I mean, it was more of like to me of like a storage type building than a venue or arena. Where now they've turned even the outside. Before the outside, you look at it and you think, "Dang, that can't nothing really good be going on in here." But it was cool. It was just there was a lot of wide open space in there to set chairs and do different things, and that's why you had so many wild different things going on, because it was just a wild setup building. But now I mean, there's still a ton of things going in there, but the outside of it, when you look on the outside, it looks cool and everything. And they've got bricks going up, got 2,300 on it, which I think you said is the name of the building now, 2,300 Arena. But like I said, I think anybody that has a show there, I think that night it will be probably the TCW Arena. It's whatever's there, but it's a cool place. I heard Tony Khan the other day say that he thought this year he would want to have AEW there. So I think it's a building that kind of transcends into a little bit of everything.
Absolutely. And this will be the first time the Memphis Mafia has been there together as a unit. But, you know, let's face it, this is the home of the BigDon. The BigDon used to run things up there. So it's going to be the Memphis Mafia. It's going to be the BigDon. It's going to be all those things coming together.
Oh, I got Philly cheesesteak, some pie, some everything going on in Philly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Philly's, hey, I loved it. Hey, when I was there with ECW, and like Dougie said, I mean, the building, when they started, it was raw, and then it got better. And like when I was there, and then I was there not long ago, they got the bleachers in. I mean, so it's a great setup for wrestling or concert or whatever it might be. It's all set up. It ain't, of course, I got my favorite place, the bar. They got the bar, and then they got the place out front for shirts and everything. So it's going to be May the 3rd. It's going to be happening in Philly, PA.
Tickets are still on sale. Go get those now. Don't wait till the day of. You can get your tickets for the convention and get your tickets for that show. It's going to start at 7:30 that night, and you can find links to that over on our Facebook page.
June the 12th will be in Mayfield, Kentucky. And like I said, I can't wait to go up there with Tommy, and Tommy will be in Mayfield, Kentucky. Tommy, myself, and King Jerry Lawler will be in Mayfield, Kentucky, and that'll be a big night on June the 12th. And then the 13th and 14th, I think it is. I am saying that right, June. The 12th will be in Mayfield. The 13th and 14th will be in Metropolis, Illinois, at the Superman Festival. Up there, me and Tommy will be signing. Myself, Tommy, and the King also will be signing at the Superman Festival the 12th and 13th, and that should be a Friday and Saturday, I do believe, and everything. So that'll be real cool to get to see a lot of the old school fans up there also. And man, I can't wait. Like I said, I can't wait to the weekend to go up with Tommy in Kentucky, and then me and him will be back in Mayfield, Kentucky. Myself, Wildfire, and the King will be up there, so it'll be a big night of action up there. And then, like I said, the next 2 days will be in Metropolis, Illinois, during the day, signing autographs. And then there's a show that night. I think me and Tommy might make a little appearance at it and everything. But man, that'd be real cool.
Good stuff, man. And we'll be announcing even more things you guys have got coming up in the coming weeks. But right now, we talked about getting ready to head to Philadelphia coming up here May the 3rd. And it got me to thinking, like, man, you guys have a lot of history in Philadelphia. Your brother Eddie had a lot of history in Philadelphia. So I thought, hey, let's talk about it. And man, if you're going to talk about Eddie Gilbert in Philadelphia, you got to talk about November 25th, 1982, when Eddie challenged Tiger Mask for the WWF Junior Heavyweight Championship. It was on the Prism Network back in the day. He's right there at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. What a match, man. You can go on YouTube and find that match right now. It's still as great a match today as it was back then. I really encourage anybody that's listening to this, go on YouTube, check that match out. What do you guys remember about seeing that match back in the day that many people say was ahead of its time?
Man, what was really cool was I got to watch it and everything, which, I mean, I knew, and, everybody didn't know kind of Eddie's style and the way my dad trained Eddie and myself. And, like, I mean, shoot, when Tommy started, my dad was around Tommy a whole lot. when he started, and Tommy knew how my dad was trained and everything, and Eddie loved. I mean, as far as the Japanese style, I mean, I love the Japanese style, but man, Eddie was great at working with all those great Japanese workers that the style. A lot of the American guys didn't want to work that style, but Eddie loved it and everything, and he worked great with all those guys from Tiger Mask. I told you through the years there were so many of them, but then you lead up to the later years like the Great Muda when Eddie worked the program with him and everything. But he loved working with Tiger Mask, and man, there was what, I think 4 or 5 maybe different Tiger Masks over the years, Gene. But you had to be a great worker to and like I said, I don't like to use the word godly, but you had to, for them to give you that gimmick over there in Japan, you had to be one of the top workers that they had in the junior heavyweight class. And man, Eddie loved it. And what was great was it was for the WW, was it WWF then, Gene, or was it, I don't know what it was, but it was for Vince Senior and everything. And like I said, Eddie worked against him in Philadelphia. I think he worked against him in Boston. He worked against him like in 4 or 5 different of the big arenas and everything. And man, he really loved it.
Yeah, Tiger Mask, was like a huge comic book hero in Japan, like just an iconic, character. And they brought it into wrestling. Like you said, they only put it on just, the best wrestlers they could find. So this was the equivalent of like Eddie wrestling Batman in America,
Right.
Like he was like
Right.
a national hero. So
Right.
I don't know if people here really appreciate that.
See, and the thing that people don't realize, and me and Tommy talked about this when we was over there together, because we had the different characters from the movies in IWA and in Wing from the Monster series movies. And what people never really understood about that, I mean, and I thought all those got over real well, and until I wound up being in the office over there and seeing how all that worked. Like when they would make movies and they would come out with the different characters that like the company had, you would think the wrestling company would have to pay the movie company, was in the United States, is what you would think, right? Well, in Japan, the movie company paid the wrestling company for us to do those characters. So
Wow.
That's kind of different, but that just reminded me when you said that about him being a character and like a Batman or something, but it's so different how the culture in Japan and in America is. And like I said, the movie company's paying the wrestling office instead of the wrestling office paying the movie company. It's just everything's kind of vice versa on the way you would think things work. But I thought that was really cool that the wrestling company had money coming in from the movie company. For different guys, you can ask Tommy. He was over there with us. There'd be like 5 or 6 of us, which we'd wrestle as ourselves. But then we'd put the mask and the different things on, and they would call it like a monster series type deal. And man, it would really get over with the people. And that's that just reminded me of that. You saying that about the Tiger Mask deal. But like I said, the Tiger Mask was always one of the most over things over there.
Yeah, I guess it was a different mentality there, where here they would think, oh, you're making money off our character. But in Japan, they seen it as, hey, you're promoting our movies.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That it was, to them, it was promoting, and the fans loved it. And when I get done here, we'll let Tommy talk, because he actually seen it and could tell you how it actually worked. But I mean, Gene, it was almost unbelievable, wasn't it, Tommy?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, Dougie, he'd do that Freddy Krueger thing. See, I'd get scared. Hey, the Japanese folks, they believed too. I mean, he had Luther. I mean, it was all of them. And they'd go toward their people, and they'd part like the Reds, like Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen, going out in that crowd. And they would part like the Red Sea, and they believed like them characters. I mean, and the guys did it so good too. I mean, like Dougie with Freddie and God. I mean, it was, and I don't know if that in Japan too, because like we was talking about, like Eddie to me, he was Hollywood, he was showboat. He had that charisma for that. But it's like Dougie said, when it come to wrestling, because he grew up in it, he'd be on that mat just as hard as anybody else. I mean, and like Dougie said, I'd rather do it my way. And Eddie, he'd go out there and he would wrestle, their style and go out there and he as good as he was at the showboating and that kind of stuff. He'd get in that ring and he'd work just as hard the other way too. I mean, yeah, Eddie, and I'm sure in the book it tells a lot about that. So everybody needs to get a copy of the book because, Eddie was as good a ground man as he was at walking and talking.
Very versatile.
And like we said, Gene, this Saturday, 2 p.m., if you want to go ahead and get your book now, you can pre-order it now, and I will sign it. I've got boxes sitting here beside of me that you can watch me sign them. As I'm signing them, you can be on here and watch me do a virtual signing. I'll be doing that at 2:00 this Saturday.
So we'll jump ahead a little bit because you mentioned Eddie working with the Great Muta. So in April of 1989, at a house show at the Civic Center in Philadelphia, Eddie wrestled Great Muta for the first time in Philadelphia. And then they came back a couple months later in June to have what they call the Dragon Shy match, which was something from the mind of Gary Hart that he created. And that was part of the Great American Bash Tour. Him and Eddie squared off again. And then again, as part of they came to Philadelphia actually twice during that tour. And they had, now this is pretty wild to think of Muta in a coal miner's glove match, Muta versus Eddie as part of the Great American Bash once again at the Civic Center in Philadelphia. It's fun because you think of coal miner's gloves like old school Southern kind of gimmick match, and to think of Muta and Eddie at a coal miner's glove match, that's pretty fun. I wish there was footage of that somewhere that we could watch.
Well, I guarantee you I know who booked that one.
No doubt, right?
but anyway, Gene, you know what? You're sitting here talking about all this, and that's great stuff. But what I was sitting here thinking about when you have been saying this and talking about that is the guys that come over from Japan that Tommy worked with. I was trying to think, Tenyru, which would have been 3 or 4 of them, Tommy, which I know a lot, like Tommy wrestled a lot of in Georgia Championship Wrestling days. I mean, and now General Tenyru, he was one of the freaking greats and had his own company, had War, and I mean, he was a star for All Japan, New Japan, and everything, and always a really tough guy that everybody looked up to. But Tommy, there was 3 or 4 of those different guys like him.
Yeah, Jumbo. I worked with Jumbo some.
And the kicker with that, Jumbo, you know who trained Jumbo, Gene?
No.
The Funks and my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow, that's cool.
That Tenyru, I worked for Tenyru when he had the War. I mean, it was, Tenyru, he come to Georgia for a while. He wrestled in Georgia. He was there for, 7-8 months. He wrestled there. And so I got to know Tenyru some. I mean, just real good people. All of them I met was always nice.
And I have never met a soul that had a bad word to say about Tenyru. When I met him 3 or 4 times, and he was always a gentleman. But man, you talking about a tough dude, but I mean a gentleman and everything. But he was a good dude, wasn't he, Tommy?
Oh yeah. I'd go in there. There we go. I didn't do no showboating with. Me and him were friends, and they still beat the daylights out of him. But that's just the way they wrestled in Japan. I mean, they all like to. I mean,
well,
they didn't expect you to hit. They wouldn't hit you no harder than they expected you to hit them. I mean, so it was, it was real.
And Gene, I told you about like my experiences with Goldo and everything, and the match that I saw Tommy have with Goldo, or Tommy had a few different matches with Goldo I thought was great matches and everything. But I'm sure Goldo had, which he was a super tough guy and everything, but I'm sure he had some good matches with Tenyru. But one of the biggest matches I ever remember him having with Tenyru lasted 18 seconds. You know what happened?
No.
Tenyru dropped one of them big elbows right on his head, and his head was like up off the mat, and it whiplashed, hit, and knocked him out. It was 18 seconds. It was like one of the big. I mean, there was like 14,000 people at this show, and that was the main event. I thought, dang, that sure wasn't supposed to happen.
It was like one of them Mike Tyson knockouts back in the day where
Right.
everybody's paid to see it and like, now what?
Right, that's it. And I mean, you could tell the referee wasn't going to quit counting, but it was like the referee was looking at him to try to raise something, but he never could raise nothing. Tenyru just knocked him out.
I know both of you guys worked with him quite a bit, but I know going back looking through results, I've seen where Eddie worked quite a bit with the Great Kabuki before he had the Kabuki gimmick. The name escapes me that he used at the time.
Saka something, wasn't it?
Something like that. But I know you guys worked with him as Kabuki. I know Doug, you were like in one of his retirement matches, and I've seen a couple of matches Tommy had with him over. How was Kabuki to work with, and did you ever take any of that poison mist in the face?
I know I did, and I'm sure Tommy did, but we'll let Tommy speak on that. But yeah, I worked with Kabuki a lot in Japan because he worked with the wrestling office. And like I said, I booked the guys, the American guys, and he was the actual booker, the Japanese booker for IWA the last 4 or 5 years. And man, I spent a whole lot of time with him. When Tommy was over there on tours with us, he spent time with him, but I'm sure Tommy spent time with him in the States here, right, Tommy?
Yeah, you speaking about Gary Hart earlier. Yeah, Gary, he had to do, and of course they had to run through Georgia, and I wrestled him. Yeah, I got the green mist a couple of times.
It felt like the green mist might be a little hard to get off of you after it was over with.
Yeah, it stained you.
I thought that might be the case.
But now you're talking about another great dude. Now Kabuki you couldn't beat him, could you, Tommy? He was a great dude. And yeah. I mean, always when I was in Japan with him, or even when he was in the States and everything, I mean, he was just, you couldn't beat him. It's still to this day, when I go to Japan, if he's not around a show or anything that I can see him, I'll go to his restaurant and see him and everything. It's right between Cork Hall and Tokyo Dome. And I mean, he's a great dude.
I always loved watching him as a kid. He had the mist and he had the nunchucks and everything. It was just, it was really fun to watch. And I hear he was a good dude.
Yeah, and one of the things Tommy said, I mean, you couldn't have put him with no better of a dude. Like we've talked before, I've always said and told people how, I think some people got a little misconception of Gary Hart. I've always loved Gary Hart, and he was always nice. I think a lot of people but I mean, he did have that, how he would carry himself. And I see why a lot of people were scared of him and this and that, but a lot of people, they just don't have much to say about Gary Hart. But to me, he was always real cool, laid back dude, and I really got along with him. Yeah,
I mean, the misperception, I don't know, but I've never experienced it either, because when he was in Georgia, Gary was smart to this business too. He was smart.
Yeah.
He was very smart to this business. I thought he got super heat. I mean, he was always in good angles and always had good guys. I mean, it was always nice. And I was just young, back then too, but he was always super nice to me. And like when I worked with Kabuki, and like if he seen something, he'd tell me, hey, try this a little different. I mean, yeah, he was always nice to me. I mean,
and it's the way he carried himself. I think, Gene, might have been why a lot of people and they would probably, a lot of them wouldn't dare tell you, but just a lot of people didn't talk to Gary and everything, and to know how smart Gary was. But I mean, Gary was smart, booking wise, smart, and he was just smart. And like Tommy said, and if he cared about you, and back then though, I think all the guys, unless just there was really a smart ass or something, the bunch that like Gary would try to help anybody, but it's like a lot of people was scared of him, his mystique or the way he carried himself. But man, what a great heel.
Yeah, and that's it. He lived that life. I mean, he was kind of, but he was smart, and like it being, maybe to some folks it'd be an arrogant answer, but if you knew him it just be that's Gary. That's what Gary would say. I mean, everybody's got, I'm on cornbread, but Gary, he was more a little arrogant. I mean, but he was a heel manager.
Yeah.
And he was a manager. So, I mean, he always, like I said, he was, I mean, I know that some folks that say stuff, but it don't matter anyway. But like I said, he's always nice to me and taught me some stuff too. So, I mean,
I always thought he played a really great role for guys like Kabuki who, played, they were foreign heel and Kabuki really was and really couldn't do promos. Gary would create these backstories for him and tell, like, he burned his face, brother, and that's why he wears the makeup and he knows all the martial. And he would really put them over strong and create this whole backstory that added a mystique to their gimmick and really added just a whole nother layer to their character, that I thought really did a lot for the people that he managed back then.
And that's what made him. I mean, that's where he was smart at. I mean, he would take a guy and of course, Kabuki, his work showed itself, but he'd tell that story and it was 10 times better,
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com. So bringing it back around to Philadelphia, so we're about to talk about a couple matches from 91 for Tommy. But one thing Philadelphia has always been known for, I mean, even me being down in Mississippi and reading magazines and hearing different things, is Philadelphia kind of became famous as being a quote-unquote heel town where, you go in there and they're supposed to cheer the Dynamic Dudes, but they get booed out of the building, but they're cheering the Freebirds, or they're cheering the Midnight Express, but they're booing the Rock and Roll Express. How was that for you guys back in the day when you go in there and you're like, all right, this crowd's going to be different. They're not really going to do what we're expecting them to do. Do you kind of adjust and kind of change things up a little bit to allow for that, or you just forge ahead and everybody plays their role and the fans fall where they may? How did you deal with stuff like that back in the day?
Well, to be honest with you, when you take a big blonde-headed cornbread boy up to Philly and and Tracy Smothers, another cornbread boy, and then put a little Guido with them and try to pass yourself off as a full-blooded Italian, they kind of hate you up there. Give them a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was easy for me to get. We got good heat, but and a lot of them did like the heels, but they didn't like us at all.
But Gene, I think where you was getting to before Tommy goes to that, you was talking about like the WCW days, right?
Yeah, like in the 90s. For instance.
Now I can say, in which Tommy can say a lot more than I can about this, but I was up there with him. And the one good thing was I was a heel, so I didn't have to go through what Tommy and them did. But I mean, I think Tommy and them took it fine, but what everybody knew going up there was whatever they was selling, they wasn't really going to be buying. I mean, they didn't want to cheer the baby faces. There would be a few people that did, but as far as the majority of your fans, like when WCW go up there, now they didn't want to cheer a baby face, or if you want to say white meat baby face, or just a baby face off TV. They'd rather boo the baby faces than they had the heels, and they cheer for the heels. But that was just, everybody knew that Philadelphia, Baltimore, Tommy, all those towns was kind of the same up there during that era, right? Like during the WC, when you was going up there for WCW, when Eddie was booking some, when he was working up there. But I remember going up there and I thought, man, this is like a total different I mean, you go to the other towns and all the baby faces would be over. I mean, people would pop and go crazy, and up there they cheer for all the heels and boo the baby faces. It was just right the opposite.
Is that cool?
Yeah, like I told Tom, it's like a cult. I'm not sure. But now, like what Tommy was talking about, I like got great heat doing the BigDon and the FBI and everything. Tommy was really over them. But like what you're talking about during those WCW days, the only ones I knew that they and I guess you could say those baby faces just because there was over so much and pushed so hard. Like they would cheer the Road Warriors, and I mean whether they was baby faces or heels, but like just your white meat, your guys that was regular normal baby faces, they'd want to boo them out of the building. That was just that. Like me and Tommy say, whatever you want to call it, like a cult type deal where they want to have what they want to have. And too, that was during the years where you was talking about too the sheets and the people up north read the sheets. I think more than the people down south, as far as more would subscribe to them and that thought they was in on the know of what was going on and everything. So I think that was kind of part of that.
So from that era, March 30th, 1991, and this is something we've touched on the York Foundation era, Tommy, but we really hadn't talked about this time. So March 31st, 1991, WCW house show at the Civic Center in Philadelphia. Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes, the Fabulous Freebirds, taking on Ricky Morton and Tommy Wildfire Rich. Now, this is when, Robert Gibson had, completely torn his knee out, had to get his knee, rebuilt. And you kind of stepped in y'all weren't the Rock and Roll Express, but you guys were a tag team pretty consistently there for several months. So how was that teaming with Ricky on a regular basis?
Which one did he play?
Was you Ricky or were you Robert in that deal, Tommy?
I was probably Robert. Yeah, probably Robert. Yeah, it was cool, man. I mean, we had to run with the York Foundation. I mean, that was good. I've been in a couple of different gimmicks and that, but the York, me and Ricky teaming up, and I mean, it's like we've been around each other so long. He looks like me now.
Nah.
Yeah. Somebody told me I look like him. I said, no, he looks like me.
No, kid, I didn't tell this last week, but when we were in Corinth the other week, Doug was sharing a table with Ricky, and Ricky kind of had his back turned. He's over there talking to some other people, and I was over away from the table talking to somebody, and somebody came up and they seen Ricky with his back turned, and they seen Doug standing there signing an autograph for somebody, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know Tommy was here." And I said, "He's not." And they go, "He's right there." I'm like, "That's Ricky." And Ricky turned around, they go, "Oh, I saw the blonde hair. I thought it was Tommy." I was like, "Well, if you squint,
And then you know what Ricky said, Tommy? Not that, but he was looking at pictures that I was signing for people, and he looked at one of the Memphis Mafia pictures and he pointed at you and says, "Is that Jeff Jarrett?" And I thought, well, now can he not hear RC or what's going on here?
Lord.
I said, Ricky, if you want that to be Jeff Jarrett, that can be Jeff Jarrett. I said, you want me to sign Jeff Jarrett on there for you or what?
I missed that. That's
and then you know what he said? He said, "I can hear you." I said, "Well, yeah, you can hear me because I'm hollering at you."
Oh, he hears what he wants to hear.
Exactly. That's that selective hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys had a good time in Corinth. That was a fun show there. So a little bit later in 1991, that's when our friend Joel Goodhart started getting TWA going, and that's when Eddie first started going up there, and towards the end of 1990 into 1991, and September 15th. Eddie defeats Cactus Jack at the TWA Autumn Armageddon event there at Penn Hall in Philadelphia. He would go on to have, a couple months later, a Falls Count Anywhere match with, between Cactus and Eddie. Eventually, they would have that series of matches. They had a barbed wire match and that best of 3 series. And a lot of people point to those series of matches between Eddie and Cactus Jack is kind of where the whole, hardcore. I mean, I know it started in Memphis, but as far as when people in Philly and the Northeast really started getting turned on to that style, and where Cactus really got over were those matches with Eddie. And there's people that still talk about them to this day. And when we talked to Joel, I was wanting to kind of talk more about that, and we kind of got steered off in other directions with him. But I really wanted to put over the importance of those matches.
Well, Gene, I dare you just to ask Joel something.
You don't get me one question.
Tommy.
Joel wouldn't get him word in edgewise, would he?
Hey, Gene told me he had a whole list of questions for Joel, and he asked Joel one question out of an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, Joel never slowed.
It felt like you were trying to jump on a merry-go-round, because like you'd see Doug go, but you couldn't get, there wasn't a break. There wasn't a break in the talk to get a word.
Hey, Tommy, I held up a sheet of paper like this so Gene could see it, and I said, "Can we talk?"
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Gene, I'm with Tommy chase that Joel around when we get up there.
We're gonna put Tommy and Joel in a room to record a pod. I'm bringing my recorder with me, and we're gonna get them to record a podcast. I'm gonna ask one question, just leave the room, and poor Tommy will just be stuck in there with him for 2 hours. It'll be the best rib ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better leave Tommy. You better leave Tommy about
in the room with him.
Yeah, I better not cross Tommy. I got to share a room with him. I might get locked out after that.
I was fixing to say you better leave Tommy about 2 cases of beer if you're going to be hot about that.
But what did Eddie think of those matches? I know, like I say, Cactus and his books have talked a lot about what they meant to him and what they meant to his career, and I've heard him in interviews, and I've got to hear Eddie talk a little bit about them and some different things. But what do you remember about them, Doug? Like, what do you remember him coming back telling you about those matches once those started happening?
Man, it wasn't just so much what he come back and told me, but there was other fans from up north that I talked to back in those days, and I've still got friends that's up there that still I talk to this day and everything. But they would, before Eddie would tell me, those guys would call and tell me. Before Eddie would get back home, they would call and tell me about the matches and about how brutal they thought stuff was. And I mean, it was brutal, but the good thing, like I said, there's still a little bit of an art, but I mean, you can't find much. I mean, it was brutally brutal, but I mean, they didn't kill one another, but there was great stuff, and you can still make stuff look great and not kill one another. But what I'm saying, the night was brutal, and like I said, the night I was up there, they had medics in the back during the different matches that they had that was, sewing them up and getting all their stuff stopped bleeding and putting stuff on them. But I mean, they had so many different gimmick matches, and I mean, and they both knew how to work. And I mean, I think it really helped Cactus as far as, I don't mean for this to sound wrong, but I think it helped Cactus more than it did Eddie, because I think Eddie had already put his imprint on what he could do and everything. It's like I said, I just called it Memphis North, in which, people that don't understand what I'm saying, like Tommy does, and I think you do. But I mean, stuff that had been going on down here for years, they just took it up there and got a little more creative with it and changed it just a little bit and everything, and it was great. And I mean, it did great. Joel's fans loved it. Everybody else up there loved it. And I mean, it was truly hardcore stuff and everything. And I mean, that's what I think, if you ask Todd Gordon, I think that's what kind of got him to wanting to start his own thing years later.
Yeah, even though those matches were, TWA and they weren't ECW, but to me, they laid the groundwork for ECW. And a lot of people, when they talk about the legacy of ECW, and they talk about, it all started with, Sabu and all these people, like, no, it started with Eddie Gilbert and Cactus Jack. And then ECW spun out of that. Like you said, that's what, motivated Todd Gordon. And then, it's no coincidence that then Todd goes and seeks out Eddie to be his booker to start ECW.
And you know what? Every everything revolves. And the good thing, to me, that was a good time for us. And then when it revolved and Eddie left and Todd and Paul and Jim Crockett started, that wound up being, I wanted it to work for everybody. This is the thing, whether I agree with some people or even like some people, I want it to be good for all the boys. I wish all the territories could have kept working. I mean, and you can't blame, everybody wants to say, well, Vince hurt everybody and killed everybody. Well, it's hard to say a guy's not a really smart, brilliant guy that's made billions of dollars in the wrestling industry. And here's another thing. You hear people, I do at certain times, and me and Tommy have got more respect for him than most anybody, but Mr. Jim Barnett. I mean, people will knock him. And the one good thing, though, you don't hear this about him is he didn't try to take everything over. He had the Superstation before anybody else did. And he had Tommy going nationally when Tommy could have went anywhere he wanted, anytime he wanted, over as much or more than anybody was at the time. But he didn't try to take people's territories. He would stay in his lane, and he might move a little bit out this way or that way, but he was going to leave it open enough for everybody, right, Tommy? So everybody could make a living, and it would be good for all the boys.
Yeah, it was, but back then when it was NWA, I mean, it was just, and that was the thing. I mean, Barnett, he had that wrapped up, and Turner even, the wrestling's what made him, and they could have, I don't know if they just didn't know, but Mr. Barnett, he was big into that NWA anyway, in the territories. Everybody was doing good business, I think the business over the years, it changed. I mean, let's say, the cycle of the business changes.
Right.
And I think, back when we did it 7 days a week, 365 days. And we say that jokingly, but by the time you work 2 or 3 times on the weekend, sometimes we did work, you do Atlanta TV, Columbus TV, and work somewhere that night. You could work 8 or 9 times in a week. So he was actually averaging, 365 days,
right.
and we didn't take days off because you was a show, and if you was in an angle, then you had to be there. So it was like you could take no time off. Just that was, and Mr. Barnett, and like Dougie said, I used to think when Vince, that it was sports entertainment and all that, I thought he killed our business. But that ain't what, what killed our business. It changed, but what killed what I do, the indie, what killed it more than anything was this backyard wrestling. These boys would get 4 of their buddies, and one of them get a pair of boots, and one get a pair of shorts or tights, and they rent a building and come in there, and it's just a shit show. Excuse my English, but I think that's what hurt my independent wrestling more than anything. Not Vince. He just carried it to another level.
Right, and too, Gene, I kind of got us off track here by saying things go 360. And going into about the different guys, but what I meant was going when Eddie left, and I left Eastern Championship Wrestling, and then it changed into Extreme. Just like I said, it's just going a circle. Like in life, everything changes, but it was time for that. And then, like I said, I'm grateful, Tommy, and like I said, I want all the guys to make a living. That was kind of my point about the territories, because you figure in a territory you could have as many. There's from 20 to 30 guys in every territory. So look all around the country when you're talking about 17, 18, 19 different territories at a time, how many guys that give a chance to work. But when it changed from Eastern Championship Wrestling to Extreme Championship Wrestling, don't get me wrong, I'm proud, and like you said, Sabu's name, I love Sabu. Sabu's always been great to me. I know Tommy and Sabu get along well. I got along great with a lot of the guys that stayed and worked for Extreme Championship Wrestling. I never had no hard feelings towards him. I want everybody to do good. And the thing about that, Tommy did great up there. And during the whole time Tommy was up there, about 3/4 of that time, I would fly into Philadelphia almost every weekend too, but I'd go work in New Jersey for the National Wrestling Alliance. So it was kind of good for all of us. It was good for Tommy and all them guys, and they really got over and drew some money and had a lot of heat. I mean, I think you've got a few cards that Tommy was on up there against different guys, and I'm sure he can tell you how that went.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, I mean, we know you had the great run with the FBI, and that was that was definitely a lot of fun and some of my favorite stuff. But now, when you first came in to ECW, the first match you had in January of 1997, you wrestled Ricky Morton there at ECW House Party 97 there at the ECW Arena. Well, what was it like that first time that you walked out there? And that, like I say, you were no stranger to Philadelphia, but like we said, those fans were a different breed up there. What was it like for you and Ricky to go out there and have a match in front of the ECW Arena that night?
Oh, Ricky's good. I mean, Ricky, they can't believe everything he tells you, but
that's just the wrestler in him.
Yeah, he tells you they jumping off the rafters on us. I tell you.
Hey, wait a minute! I missed a point there though. Before you wrestled Ricky that same night, you and Ricky teamed up against the Gangstas, New Jack and Mustafa, and at the end, you turned on Ricky or Ricky turned on you. I don't remember which one it was. I guess I should ask that first. How was it? Because New Jack, obviously one of the more controversial.
That's probably
figures
what
of
happened.
wrestling.
I was probably pissed off at him for having. He probably left me in there more than he was in there. Yeah. Hey, but at Mustafa, I mean, he was good. New Jack, I never had no problems with him. I mean, you hear stories how he got silly sometimes, but we had a good match with him, and of course, we were fresh meat to them too. So it was. I mean, the match was good. I don't really remember me and Ricky coming back out and wrestling, so you'll have to clue me in on that one a little bit. But
well, you won, so it went well for you at least.
Yeah, say I turned bad, huh?
Yeah, you turned bad, and so you beat Ricky after y'all lost to the Gangstas. You beat Ricky in a 1-on-1, and then in February. Now this match is on our Facebook page. This thing has had like over 100,000 views on our Facebook page. It's you wrestling Terry Funk, February 1st, 1997, ECW crossing the line again. Love this match. Like I said, it's gotten a ton of views. People message me about it all the time. Please share memories of wrestling Terry Funk in the ECW Arena.
He beat the hell out of me. He didn't work easy anyway. And then when he was up there in ECW, because it was extreme, he got extreme too. I fought for my life. I remember. I don't remember much, but I remember that. He got up on the damn rope and did a moonsault to the floor on me. I ain't never done that in my life. I thought, oh my God, I gotta catch him. If I don't, he'll get up and kill me. So yeah, it was an experience, but it was always. I worked with Terry a few times, but up there it was different. Yeah, he was a wild man.
I told Tommy Gene a few times. Tommy was a lot of the shows where I worked with Terry at. I'd come back and Tommy would just be smiling. I said, "Say that was good," I said, but I've been in easier street fights than that.
Go.
Yeah, you wrestled Terry on a Eastern Championship Wrestling television on one of the TV shows, and that's on our Facebook as well as the Dark Patriot. You wrestled with Terry.
I think I wrestled Terry about 24 to 36 times. Actually, it's quite a few times and a lot of different places and everything. But I enjoyed every one of them. Like I said, I've told people you ain't really got to worry about being in a fight with anybody after that, because I mean that was one of the things. Like I think I told y'all before, but always before and in the earlier days, I mean, everybody that was a NWA World Champion, the whole deal was nobody could beat them. If they didn't want to be beat on any given day, they wouldn't be beat. And that was the tough guys. And Terry was one of the tough guys.
Oh yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah. He was. Hey, but all of them. I mean, your dad. Hey, your dad. They was all in there together. I mean, and
Yeah.
the harder the better for them.
Well, so that's what Terry told me before, that people wouldn't know how much my dad helped him. And I said, "Is that right?" And he said, "Yeah." And he was telling me about when my dad come out there and worked their territory with him. That Dory Senior put my dad with Terry for a good little run there, and he said that my dad really taught him a lot, and I thought that was really cool, him telling me that and everything.
Yeah, Terry, like, what's so unique about Terry is, like you said, he's one of the toughest guys ever. You know, he just beat the tar out of somebody. But then he could wrestle. Like, he could get on the mat and wrestle with anybody. But then he could also do comedy. You know, he could stagger around and do some of those Dick Murdoch spots. He could do anything that you wanted, and he could do it all in one match and make it all make sense. At no point is anybody be like, "Oh, that's some phony shit." Like, no, I mean, he could take you from laughing to mad to crying, whatever Terry Funk wanted out of you, he could do it. I mean, just one of the best to ever do it.
That's that psychology.
That's that psychology.
Yeah, that's what, back when we started. That's what they teach you. Now it's like boom, 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 boom. Where we were, I mean, yeah, it's that psychology. And guys like Terry Funk and them, I mean, they was at ground and pound, but they knew how to tell that story too.
And Gene, how many people have you ever seen? Well, if you ever seen it, it was just copied, but like the empty arena match. Just, I'm talking about using Terry was a smart freaking guy too. I mean, people don't realize this, don't know about Terry, hadn't read books and know this. Like, Terry kept his Actors Guild card, so he would have insurance that he didn't have to pay for. I mean, he'd show up in a movie here or there, but he stayed connected with California long enough with the movie business that his insurance was paid for, his and his family's insurance. I mean, what would people give these days to have free insurance? I mean, good insurance. I'm talking about the Actors Guild insurance. Terry was a smart freaking guy, other than being tough and knowing what he was doing. He handled his business right. He handled his money well. He's one of the freaking guys that never, when he took his last breath, he still had plenty of money in the bank. And I mean, he didn't ever have to worry about it. And knock on wood, I can say, me and Tommy can both say we was at the last two shows he wrestled, and I'm lucky enough to say I was one of the ones that wrestled him in the last two matches that he ever wrestled at.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's one of the best to ever do it, and that's cool that you guys have wrestled. Got to wrestle him so many times, and the connection that the Funk family and the Gilbert family had with your dad and your brother and you and everybody. One more thing I want to touch on about from the ECW arena, because you mentioned this earlier in the context of Japan, but now Freddy Krueger, or at least Doug Gilbert as Freddy Krueger, hasn't had many matches in the States, but now in August of 1993 on an ECW taping, Freddy Krueger and the Headhunters wrestled Salvatore Bellomo and the Super Destroyers in one of the rare Freddy Krueger sightings in America. And you also tagged with Eddie on that show as well. You wrestled 2 or 3 times on that show. But how was it being Freddy in Philadelphia?
I thought it was cool. The reason we've done it was because there was Japanese press there, and we had come there, and then we went to Mexico right after that on a tour, and it was really big in Japan, or it was really cool for the press for you to come to the United States. It was cool for the Japanese guys to come over and really kind of help them and build them up. But it was also cool, even if he was one of the gaijins, one of the Americans, for the Japanese press to be able to take photos of you wrestling in the States and put it back in Gong and Baseball Magazine back then. And then we left there, and like 3 days later, after the Philadelphia show, we went to Mexico City, and I was trying to think what company it was that our Japanese company was affiliated with over there, but they really thought it was cool that I had the Headhunters there. I had Masanaga there. I had Miguel Perez there. Everybody that was from the Japanese company, kind of the top guys. Victor Quinones was there. But there was a lot of us there. But what we done 3 days after that, we flew straight to Mexico and was in Mexico for like 9 days. And then we flew straight from Mexico back. I flew to Dallas and straight from Dallas to Narita to Japan for 3 weeks. So it was like a month and a half tour. But it was we'd come home from Japan and then went straight to ECW, then done that. Then 3 days later, we left and went to Mexico. Then went straight back from Mexico, straight to Dallas, straight to Tokyo Narita, and we went back for a 3-week tour. But that's all of us guys, the whole company. But it was so much. There's so much Japanese press, and it meant so much. It was great for them to follow you around. And then, like I told you, I can't remember what year it was now, but then I went to Germany, and I just come back from Japan, and Japanese press followed us from Japan to Germany. But Chono was on that deal, and that's when he was at his height and everything, and that was always a really cool thing, having the press to follow you and put everything in Japanese magazines. And you ask Tommy over there, they think it's a weekly magazine, not a monthly magazine like they'd have here, but every week people would be going, your Japanese fans, to the newsstands and buying Baseball and Gong magazine.
I got to put over something right here. I was talking to Melissa about this when we was watching your tag match, you and Ricky wrestling the Initiative in Corinth the other night. Tommy, could you go out there and wrestle in a sweater and a rubber mask in some of these long matches in some of these hot buildings that Doug was working as Freddy Krueger? That's what always amazed me. Whenever I watched Doug do the Freddy game, I'm like, geez, how is he able to do that? I'd have a heat stroke before I got to the ring.
No, I couldn't. No, I couldn't even do it if it was cool.
Outside in the winter.
And it's hot as hell. Yeah, I would smother to death, Bubba. Yeah.
Yeah, kudos for that, man. That's rough.
But hey, May the 3rd, though, everybody tell somebody, because it's gonna be a big show in Philly, and I'm so excited about it. Just want to leave that on everybody's mind right now, because May the 3rd is gonna be a big shindig in Philly. We're gonna do it country style.
And you know what?
Mafia's coming to town.
Yeah,
guys, and ever who he wants to bring. They want extreme. We've done that.
Yeah, and like I said, it'd be the first time the Memphis Mafia has come to Philly and everything. Me and Tommy will be there. We've been there a million times. He's been there by himself, and I've been there by myself, but we haven't been there together. And you'll see us for the first time at the TCW, ECW, 2300, whatever you want to call it, the arena. You come on out, like I said, we'll sign a picture, take a picture with you, and you come back that night and you see us both fighting.
Hey, Joel Goodhart, you put a good one together, brother.
That's right. I mean, not only do you get to meet the Memphis Mafia, but everybody who's ever been anybody in that scene is going to be there at that convention for you to be able to meet them and get pictures with them and get autographs and all that good stuff. So I'm excited. I've never been to Philly. I've never been to the ECW arena. So I'm really, really excited about this show, and people really need to check it out. May the 3rd, TWA, one and done. Like we said, you can still get tickets for it. For both.
Hey, Tommy, are you going to take Gene over there and run him up them steps you run me up and everything?
Yeah.
The Rocky steps?
The Rocky steps. You ain't lying.
We may slowly jog up those steps or walk up those steps.
You got to run up. I got a chairlift for me.
Hey,
yeah, I was gonna say I ain't gonna be able running.
Hey, look, Tommy, he's got to run up and do the Rocky deal, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, a lot of good times, man. A lot of things there in Philly, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, well, you guys be ready to check the Facebook and the Twitter. We're gonna have a lot of cool pictures from the show, from us running around Philly. There should be a lot of fun stories to tell.
Coming to town.
Got that right.
We sure are.
All right, folks. Just one more reminder. Don't forget this Saturday April the 26th, book signing, 2 p.m. Central Time. Doug will be signing the Eddie Gilbert book, and we will have more information. You can check the Facebook, and you can also check DougGilbertPodcast.com for the exact link. THCringside.com/books is where you can pay to get your book autographed.
You sure can. And you know what? If something happens and you can't be there Saturday at 2:00 to see me sign them, you can be in Philadelphia on May the 3rd, and myself and Tommy, the Memphis Mafia, will both sign them for you. Right, Tommy?
You ain't lying.
And everything. Like I said, me and Tommy will be there for photo ops. If you want pictures signed, if you want to take pictures with the Memphis Mafia, we'll be there. Gene will be there. Everybody on this podcast will be there. So let me tell you, you need to come on out because it's going to get wild. And like Shane Douglas thinks he's got extreme. Tommy was being extreme before Shane Douglas even thought about wrestling and everything. So I'm going to tell you one thing. We'll see what goes on in the 2300 arena that night. But believe me, boys, it's not going to be good for y'all, and it will be good for us. Like I always say, I say what I mean what I say, and you'll see the best of Wildfire and Dangers that night. And listen, if anybody else has got any more questions, all you got to do is show up, and you'll find out. Peace.
If you sweet, nice, innocent people of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, well, please just excuse me a second, but I had to come outside just once again and go down into the woods as far as I could before I really felt low, felt so dirty, kind of like a redneck from Texas, the way that Terry Funk feels every day of his life when he gets up in Amarillo, Texas. Well, Terry Funk, you've come on this television, you've come on Sports Channel, and you've made fun of me. But this Saturday night, chump, I'm going to shut you and all the people of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania up. Because, see, the people of Philadelphia have long been waiting for a hero. They've gone out to the Phillies game just like me, and they've sat with their heads down. I even went and bought a ball cap, hoping that they do good this year. They're the worst team in Phillies history. They can't even get a home run hitter. They can't get anyone, but maybe, just maybe, after Saturday night, they're going to sign up. Moi, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the new king, the only king of Philadelphia. This Saturday night, I will be crowned officially the king of Philadelphia after I beat you, you has-been, washed up, no good for nothing, Terry Funk, because I'm going to take you from corner to corner, pillar to post at the ECW Arena Saturday night, brother, and no one, not even your mama, is going to recognize you with all that blood covering your body. So people of Philadelphia, when it is over with, bow down to your new king of Philadelphia this Saturday night.
In the heart of Tennessee, born with pride, Doug and Tommy taking rings in stride. Memphis legends never backing down, wrestling warriors, they wear the crown. You scurry away, glory in their veins, fighting legends breaking chains. In the square circle they made their name, podcast champions, it's their claim to fame. On the mic they roar, on the map they soar, dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves, Memphis wrestling raising the stage. From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name, fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold, tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar, dangerous conversations, fans wanting more.